Hey everybody, this is Marcel here. I've been gone for a while. I'm back now. I had some government training I had to take care of. Wasn't in a position where I could say exactly when or where I was going. I also had a sick family member I was trying to help out, but I'll put that at the end of the video if anyone's curious. So the topic of the day is having standards, specifically having them in a relationship, and the differences in society between when a man has standards or when a woman does. Then I'll tie that into how important having standards are in life and maybe point out some things the average person doesn't think of, kind of a mindset that I have about it. So I sit back and I see all these videos people are posting on both sides of the fence about beauty standards and fat acceptance, which I've made videos where I've touched on both of those topics. I'll put links down below if you want to see them. The overwhelming pattern that starts to emerge is that men are not expected or allowed to have any standards when it comes to the girl that they're with. It's supposed to be refined to mostly personality only, and even that is debatable because if a guy leaves a woman because her personality changes, he's still wrong. Whereas women can do whatever the hell they want. If a man decides to leave or judge a woman based upon her looks, maybe she lost her job, she stops taking care of herself, pretty much anything, he's the bad guy. He's being a dick to her. Whereas anything that goes wrong with a guy and the woman leaves him for it, it's his fault. It could even be spun as some kind of emotional or romantic abuse. We are essentially guilted into accepting the very things that would terminate the relationships if it were the other way around. But let's say for a minute that that isn't news to anyone. I want to go over why I believe it happens, and more importantly, what we can do about it should we want to. You see, subtle changes in perspective in what we're willing to tolerate can bleed into our mindset in almost everything we do. Our community, our culture, is stuck in something of a tolerance feedback loop that is crippling our abilities at the least to reach our full potential, if not to function at all. Please note that I mean tolerance in regards to personal standards and what we'll put up with, not in the sense of respecting other cultures or religions or anything. Firstly, if you want to look at the root of the problem, it all started with men. Thirsty, desperate manginas, white knights, simps, whatever you want to call them. Men out there that were more concerned with getting laid than having standards for themselves, even to the point of losing everything. It's not surprising as you might think. Have you ever looked at a woman and thought in the back of your mind, I would do anything to be with her, or I would let her do anything to be with me? A lot of us have. Thing is, given enough time and desperation, that mindset can be contorted to where almost any woman can fit into that category, meaning that ideal, perfect woman that the guy would do anything for. And that comes from that feedback loop I was talking about. Over the recent decades, men's ability to set standards has been whittled away. By settling for or tolerating things, even in small amounts, over time, those adults become examples for the next generation. Couple that with a general soft-hearted, push-over attitude when it comes to any form of repercussions for misbehavior, sprinkle on some arrogance and entitlement, wrap it up with what are essentially a big heap of overgrown children being taught that everyone gets a medal and there are no consequences for failure because we're basically a welfare state, you essentially have yourself a massive shit sandwich. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. The point I'm trying to make is that by allowing some things on the small scale, it rebounds back at us and causes more problems the longer it's allowed. This is one of those scenarios where if all men just said, no, I'm not buying you all of that shit because somehow it shows how much I love you, while simultaneously expecting nothing in return, as proof from yourself. No, I'm not letting you take all of his money just because you were married and you have a vagina, or giving you all of the kids because somehow breasts make you a better parent. No, I'm not going to tolerate you putting on an extra 400 pounds because we got married and you don't think you have to take care of yourself anymore. Yes, I will leave you if I'm not happy with you or the relationship because my love is not any more unconditional than yours is. Though all of this is too much to ask for. Blue pill guys just don't think that way. They allow it to continue. Then it gets perpetuated, both by women for their own self-interest and men that don't want to admit that they're weak. They don't realize or won't face that they caused it. No raindrop believes that it's to blame for the flood. Anyway, I digress. When I was younger, I used to always say something when I was presented by someone giving me the whole appreciate what you have, accept yourself, love yourself for who you are kind of nonsense. And there's nothing wrong with appreciating what you've done or accomplished or who you've become. But when I was given that whole spiel, it's usually because I was attempting to achieve more than they thought I was capable of doing. I wasn't satisfied with some aspect of my life, and I always found their attitude immensely frustrating. See, I will never be satisfied with the level of my living or how much I've helped the world or how much I've accomplished. And it's from the perspective of always wanting to improve my life and the lives of those around me. It has allowed me to accomplish some truly amazing things, but does have the drawback of never feeling like I'm completely done with a project. So when I see something distinctively wrong with the way people treat each other, or with the way society treats men, for example, I feel driven to do something about it to make it better. So if nobody minds a bit of tough love, gentlemen, if we are responsible for building this society, creating this world, then we also have to take responsibility for its demise. We are the ones that will have to make a change. Not to go all MRA on you here or anything. I'm not suggesting that anyone go out and protest. I'm thinking much smaller. When we allow people to mistreat us, or when we drop our standards for any reason, but specifically when it comes to dealing with those who are supposed to love us, that's when the foundation of respect in our community starts to crumble. Imagine for a moment the person in this world that you really respect, your role model, if you want to call him that, assuming it's a guy, that person goes home and their wife, their girlfriend, treats them like shit, and they put up with it. If you knew that, would you still respect them? I know it would affect how I felt about them. Pulling it all back together for a minute, when you look at all of the pieces to this, put them all in perspective, feel free to disagree here. I believe that MGTOW are simply men with standards. Standards on what we're willing to tolerate, who we're willing to be with, or what we're willing to put up with to be with anyone. We have the standards for ourselves that all men should have, all people should have, and yet have lost over time. And that is why we keep getting shamed and pressured to fall back on that blue pill mindset to conform to what's currently happening with men nowadays. It is also why other organizations like the MRA, for example, nothing against it if any of you are, start to break down over time because they ultimately get infiltrated by women because men within their organization had great intentions but could not hold their own standards within the relationships that they got in on the side. You can't make genuine changes in society unless you hold and enact those values within yourself. MGTOW is partially immune because it embodies the very standards that it claims. By eliminating or reducing the weak link that is the relationship, it does not allow people with opposing interests to squeeze in and break it down from the inside. I believe that fundamentally, all men truly want to be respected. They don't want to be with someone who's treating them like shit or using them. They just get convinced or brainwashed that they're supposed to. Then they tolerate it because in the end, they're afraid of being alone. My final thoughts on this subject is to everyone. have standards for yourself. Don't ever settle with anything. Set a standard for your life and hold it and surpass it, because ultimately it's your life. No one else should be able to take away from you your happiness. If you have to make a change to be happy, do it. Be strong enough to make that change. You'd be amazed at how close people normally are to success when they give up. And in the end, we have no one to blame or thank but ourselves for the outcome. Well then, let me know down below if you agree, disagree, what your thoughts are. I want to hear what you have to say. And if you want to hear more videos like this, like and subscribe. For those who have been curious about what's going on with me, I did mention that training. My mother is in the final stages of liver disease, and I'm her sponsor. So that's been kind of a big ordeal for her lately. I'm trying to help her through that situation. It's one of those things that it's just going to take time. And, a few liver offers come in and then turn out not to work out for her can really break down a person's morale. So it's been a big focus of the last few months is trying to help her through that situation. Additionally, the cicadas, if I said that correctly, little bugs in the trees that make a snapple sound, have been pretty much flocking to my windows and rattling them almost all day long. It's been making it very hard to record, in addition to having the entire apartments nearby remodeled, so they're basically doing construction right outside. Murphy and his laws have just not been very kind to me lately. But no excuses, right? You push through and you just make things happen. I am still here, I'm not going anywhere, and it should be getting better now. I know I keep saying that, but it really is starting to slow down and smooth out. I appreciate everyone who has stuck around despite my silence. You guys are awesome. So, thank you everyone, and take care.